Welcome back to JVC English Learning Academy. My name is Laura, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you truly love Jesus, like the video, subscribe to the channel, keep watching the video believing in Jesus, you will learn something good, and comment to let us know what you are watching. Your support truly helps this channel grow. Alright, take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin today's session. Let yourself focus. And if you're enjoying learning with this channel, you can gently support the journey by staying to the end, subscribing, or simply coming back for more sessions. No pressure, no rush, just a small reminder that your support helps this space continue to grow. This podcast is built for learners who want more than basic vocabulary. It's for people who want to unlock nuance, precision, emotion, and flexibility in their English. Synonyms are the secret doorway into sounding advanced, sounding natural, sounding intelligent without forcing anything. And in this 2-hour session, we're not only going to explore synonyms, we're going to absorb them. We'll let them sink into your listening, your intuition, your speaking rhythm. You don't need to study, memorize, or pause every sentence. Just listen. Let the variations flow through your ears. Let the patterns become familiar. Over time, your brain will start choosing these richer, more expressive words naturally. Think of this as a long, immersive walk in English, a place where you can slow down, breathe, and simply enjoy the language while building mastery without stress. You'll hear stories, examples, contrasts, subtle shades of meaning, and natural expressions used by native speakers. And as you listen, you'll start picking up these layers almost without realizing it. That's the power of deep listening. That's the magic of long-form vocabulary training. And that's exactly why this session exists. So, welcome again. Welcome to a space where your English can expand, evolve, and mature. Whether you're listening during your morning routine, a quiet evening, a long commute, or simply while relaxing, I'm here to guide you gently through every minute. Let's take this time to grow your vocabulary, strengthen your instincts, and bring you closer to the fluency you've been dreaming of. And now, when you're ready, let's begin the journey. The reason synonyms matter so much in English is because they give you freedom. Freedom to express the same idea in different shades, different tones, and different emotional colors. When you only know one word for a meaning, your voice becomes limited, almost trapped. But when you learn synonyms, suddenly you can speak with depth, precision, and confidence. So in today's session, I want you to imagine that you're not just learning vocabulary. You're building a richer voice, a stronger identity in English, one that allows you to communicate in a way that feels natural and powerful at the same time. As you listen, don't worry about memorizing every single word. Your brain will remember what it's ready to remember. What matters now is the rhythm, the flow, the exposure, the feeling of English surrounding you. This session is like letting your ears bathe in language. The more you listen, the more familiar everything becomes, even without forcing it. Let's begin with something simple, something everyone understands. The idea of being happy. In English, you don't have to always say happy. You Could say glad or cheerful or delighted or pleased. Each of these carries a slightly different mood. Glad is gentle. Cheerful is bright. Delighted feels stronger, almost elegant. Pleased is calm and polite. Imagine you say, I'm happy you're here. That sounds warm. But if you say, I'm delighted you're here, it suddenly becomes more refined, more meaningful. Small changes like that can transform the way people perceive you. This is the power of synonyms. They don't just replace words, they enhance expression. Now let's move to the opposite emotion. When you feel unhappy, you could say you're sad, but you could also say you're upset, unhappy, gloomy, or miserable. Think about the difference. Upset is troubled. Gloomy is dark and emotional. Miserable is heavy, like the feeling stays with you. When you tell someone, I'm miserable, they immediately understand the depth of your feeling. Notice how English gives you so many emotional shades. This is why synonyms are essential for fluency. They paint clearer, richer pictures. Let your ears get used to the sound of these patterns. Happy, delighted, cheerful, sad, gloomy, miserable. You don't need to repeat aloud. Let the sound sink in. Now imagine you want to talk about something big. You can say big or large, or huge or massive. Each word has a different weight. Large is neutral and safe. Huge is dramatic. Massive feels even bigger, almost too big. If you say it's a big problem, people understand. But if you say it's a massive problem, they immediately know the situation is serious. With just one synonym, the message changes. The same thing happens with the word small. Sometimes small is enough, but you might want to say tiny, little, or miniature. Listen to how they feel. Tiny, little, miniature. Each one paints a slightly different image. When you describe something as tiny, it sounds almost cute. When you say miniature, you're giving a technical, precise description. And that's why synonyms matter in conversation. They help you communicate the feeling behind the word, not just the meaning. Let's move to a pair of words everyone uses. Fast and slow. Instead of fast, try quick, rapid, or swift. Instead of slow, try unhurried or sluggish. Listen to these contrasts. Fast and slow, quick and unhurried, rapid and sluggish. English loves these pairs because they help your mind link words emotionally and logically. The more you hear them together, the easier it becomes to recall them. Now let's shift from description to action. Think about the simple act of helping someone. You can say help, but you can also say assist, support, or aid. These words all mean the same thing, but each one fits different situations. Assist is polite and formal. Support is emotional and steady. Aid is short and strong. Imagine you're in a professional meeting. Instead of saying I will help, you try I will assist you. It immediately sounds more confident. This is how synonyms change your communication. Not just by adding vocabulary, but by shaping your tone. Let's try another action word, ask. You can ask someone, or you can inquire, request, or question. If you say, I want to ask you something, that's normal. But if you say, I'd like to inquire about something, you sound more professional. more precise. These are the subtle layers that native speakers use naturally, and you can learn them too, simply by exposing your ear to the sound. Now listen to this next group. Say, tell, explain. Instead of say, you might use express or state. Instead of tell, try, inform, or notify. Instead of explain, you might clarify or describe. Think of how many doors this opens when you speak. Instead of repeating, I want to tell you something over and over, you might say, I want to inform you of something important, or let me clarify what I mean. These are powerful tools for communication. Let's take a gentle pause, not silence, but a moment to breathe through the sound of the language. As you listen to English, flowing without pressure, your brain relaxes and absorbs more naturally. You don't need to rush. Learning synonyms is not about memorizing lists. It's about building familiarity. Each time you hear a word, your brain becomes more comfortable with it. Your listening sharpens. Your speaking becomes smoother. Fluency is not a race. It's a rhythm. Let's continue with words. For thinking and understanding, instead of saying think, you can say consider, reflect, or ponder instead of saying understand, try, comprehend, or grasp. These words might feel advanced right now, but listening to them repeatedly makes them feel natural. Imagine you're reading something difficult. Instead of saying, I don't understand, you could say, I can't quite grasp the idea. Immediately, your sentence becomes more expressive, more meaningful. Now let's move toward improvement and progress. Instead of saying improve, try enhance, develop, or upgrade. Instead of saying change, try modify, adjust, or transform. Without synonyms, English feels limited. With synonyms, your expression becomes flexible. You can shape your message to match your intention. You can sound more natural, more fluent, more powerful. Let your mind absorb this flow. Enhance, develop, adjust, transform. When you hear these words often enough, they stop feeling difficult. They start becoming part of the way you think. If this feels slow and calm, that's intentional. A podcast is not just information. It's an experience. Listening is the key to fluency. And the more you let English surround you, the easier everything becomes. When you hear words repeatedly in different contexts, your brain builds connections effortlessly. You don't have to force anything. When you begin exploring the world of synonyms, something interesting starts to happen. In your mind, you stop seeing English as a collection of fixed words and begin seeing it as a flexible system where one idea can be expressed in many different ways. This change is important because fluency isn't about knowing one perfect word. It's about having options. Options allow you to adapt to every situation, every mood, every listener. That's why this podcast continues to surround you with layers of meaning, letting you hear how English transforms through small adjustments. As you keep listening, your brain begins to recognize patterns automatically, even without trying. Let's continue with the idea of describing people and their qualities. You may know the word smart, but you can also say intelligent, clever, bright, or sharp. Each word has its own subtle color. Intelligent feels formal and academic. Clever feels quick and creative. Bright sounds fresh and positive, often used for children and young learners. Sharp carries the sense of quick thinking and strong mental ability. Imagine how different it feels when someone says she's smart compared to she's incredibly bright or she's a very sharp person. With synonyms, you shape not only the message but also the emotional tone behind the message. Now, consider the opposite. When someone lacks understanding or common sense, you could say they are foolish, silly, slow, or even ignorant. Each word is different. Foolish suggests careless decisions. Silly feels light and playful. Slow refers to thinking speed rather than personality. Ignorant means lacking knowledge often because of limited exposure, not intelligence. You are not memorizing a list here. You are hearing the shades of English. That's how natural fluency grows. Let's shift to describing appearances and impressions. When something is beautiful, you don't always need the word beautiful. You could say lovely, gorgeous, stunning, or breathtaking. Lovely is soft and gentle. Gorgeous is strong and expressive. Stunning carries a sense of surprise, almost like the beauty is overwhelming. Breathtaking feels dramatic and emotional. Each synonym changes the feeling of the sentence. If you tell someone you look lovely today, it feels sweet and warm. But if you say you look stunning today, it carries more intensity. Listening to these variations helps you understand not just the meaning, but the emotional range of English. Now think about the word ugly, a harsh word that English speakers often avoid. Instead, you might say unattractive, unappealing, unpleasant, or rough-looking. Notice how synonyms can soften or intensify a message depending on your intention. This is one of the hidden powers of synonyms. They let you control how strong or gentle your message feels. Let's move to describing strength and power. When someone or something is strong, you could say powerful, sturdy, solid, or resilient. Powerful describes influence or energy. Sturdy suggests physical strength or reliable structure. Solid means firm, dependable, stable. Resilient describes someone who recovers quickly, especially emotionally. Listen to these words: strong, powerful, resilient. The more you hear them, the more comfortable you become with choosing the right one for the moment. Now consider the word weak. You could say fragile, delicate, feeble, or frail. Fragile suggests easily broken. Delicate implies needing care or gentleness. Feeble means lacking strength, often physically. Frail suggests age or vulnerability. All of these synonyms help you communicate more precisely. And this precision is what makes advanced English feel natural. Let's shift to actions. Again, specifically movement. When you move quickly, you might say you hurry, rush, dash, or sprint. Each word carries its own speed and energy. When you move slowly, you might stroll, wander, drift, or crawl. Stroll is relaxed. Wander is gentle and without direction. Drift feels almost effortless. Crawl is slow and difficult. Notice how synonyms paint motion much more clearly than one simple word ever could. Now think about the idea of speaking Instead of say or talk, you might use speak, discuss. Discuss openly, mention, remark, comment, or elaborate. Eliminate the pressure of memorization. Just let the sound wash over you. Speak, discuss, mention, remark, elaborate. Later, your mind will naturally pull out the word that fits the situation best. Let's continue with common actions that appear in daily life. When you begin something, you might start, initiate, launch, or commence. When you end something, you might finish, complete, conclude, or finalize. The beauty of synonyms is how they give your speech texture. You could say, let's start the meeting. Or you could say, let's begin the meeting. Or even, let's commence the meeting. Each one shifts the level of formality. You gain control not just over vocabulary, but over tone. Think about the word fix. You can repair, mend, restore, or adjust. Repair sounds technical. Mend feels gentle, often used for fabric or emotional wounds. Restore suggests bringing something back to its original state. Adjust means making small changes. When you hear these words repeatedly, you stop needing translations. Your mind begins forming English connections directly. Let's move to thinking again. When you try to understand something deeply, you might analyze, examine, investigate, or evaluate. These words appear often in academic contexts, but they are useful in daily life too. They help you structure your ideas clearly. You might say, I need to analyze this problem, or I need to investigate this issue. The more familiar these words become, the more natural they will feel when you speak. Now, imagine you want to express feelings in a more advanced way. Instead of saying you are tired, you might say, you are exhausted, drained, worn out, or fatigued. Instead of saying you are angry, you could say frustrated, irritated, furious, or enraged. Notice the gradients. Irritated is small. Frustrated is emotional. Furious is strong. Enraged is extreme. English gives you the freedom to choose exactly the emotion you mean. Let's explore words related to desire. Instead of want, you might say desire, wish for, long for, or crave. Long for feels emotional. Crave feels intense. These differences matter when you want to sound natural and precise. Listening is the fastest way to absorb these distinctions. Remember, your goal here is not to force yourself to memorize every synonym. Your goal is to build a feeling for the language. That feeling comes from exposure, repetition, and immersion. As you continue listening, you'll start recognizing these words in movies, podcasts, conversations, and books. When that happens, everything clicks into place. As you continue listening, I want you to imagine your English expanding outward in every direction, not in a rushed or pressured way, but quietly, naturally the same way a tree grows new branches without effort. That is exactly how vocabulary develops when you absorb language through sound. You don't force anything. You simply allow the words to reach you. And over time, they settle into your memory in the exact way they're meant. 2. Synonyms play an essential role in this kind of growth because they give your mind multiple pathways to express a single idea. If one word doesn't come to you in a moment, another one will. This Freedom makes speaking smoother, listening easier, and thinking in English more natural. Let's explore the idea of describing situations and events. When something is important, you can say significant, crucial, vital, or essential. Each synonym has a slightly different power. Significant means notable or meaningful. Crucial means extremely important, often necessary for success. Vital suggests something essential for life or functioning. Essential means absolutely necessary. Imagine how different your message becomes depending on which word you choose. If you say this is important, that's fine. But if you say this is crucial, you immediately add urgency. If you say this is essential, you emphasize necessity. Notice how synonyms let you control the intensity of your message with precision. Now let's take the opposite idea. When something is unimportant, you might say minor, insignificant, trivial, or negligible. Minor suggests small. Insignificant means without real meaning. Trivial means simple, not worth attention. Negligible means so small it can be ignored. These words help you communicate that something does not deserve too much focus. This ability to reduce or increase emphasis through synonyms is one of the secrets of confident English communication. Let's move to describing problems. Instead of saying problem, you might say issue, challenge, obstacle, or difficulty. Each synonym gives a different perspective. Issue sounds softer and more neutral. Challenge suggests something difficult but possible to overcome. Obstacle implies something blocking progress. Difficulty suggests effort is required. If you say, I'm facing a challenge, it sounds motivated. If you say, I'm dealing with an obstacle, it sounds serious. These are subtle shifts, but they shape your meaning. Now let's focus on improvement. When something improves, you might say it develops, progresses, advances, or evolves. Develop is steady and calm. Progress suggests moving forward. Advance means reaching a new level. Evolve is gradual, natural growth. When you say my English is improving, that's good. But when you say my English is progressing, it sounds steady. If you say my English is evolving, it feels organic and natural. This is why synonyms matter. They don't change your message. They refine it. Let's shift to describing changes. Instead of change, you might say alter, modify, adjust, shift, or transform. Alter suggests small changes. Modify suggests technical or detailed changes. Adjust means small corrections. Shift implies movement in direction. Transform means a big dramatic change. These words help you express exactly what type of change you mean. If you say, I need to adjust my schedule, that feels minor. If you say, I need to transform my routine, that feels major. Listening to these distinctions builds an intuitive sense of English, the kind native speakers use without thinking. Let's move into describing movement or progress in life. Instead of go, you might say proceed, advance, continue, or head toward. Proceed is formal and orderly. Advance suggests moving forward with purpose. Continue suggests consistency. Head toward suggests direction. When you say I'll go forward, it's simple. When you say I'll proceed, it feels structured. When you say I'll head toward my goals, it feels natural and expressive. Now let's explore words related to emotions again. When something makes you angry, you might say annoyed, irritated, frustrated, or outraged. Annoyed is slight. Irritated is stronger. Frustrated is emotional. Outraged is intense. When you say, I'm annoyed, the listener understands a small problem. When you say, I'm frustrated, they understand there is emotional pressure. This ability to control emotional meaning is one of the most valuable aspects of mastering synonyms. Let's consider words for fear. Instead of scared, you might say afraid, frightened, terrified, or petrified. Afraid is normal. Frightened is stronger. Terrified is extreme. Petrified suggests being so scared you cannot move. Hearing these words repeatedly helps your mind understand their intensity without needing translation. That's exactly what fluency is. Understanding the emotional weight behind the word. Now let's shift to expressing desire again, but with more nuance. Instead of need, you might say require, demand, or depend on. Instead of hope, you might say wish, desire, or aspire. Wish is gentle. Desire is strong. Aspire suggests ambition. This gives you a wide range of expressions, depending on what you want to communicate. Let's explore synonyms related to knowledge and learning. Instead of teach, you might say instruct, educate, guide, or mentor. Instruct is direct and structured. Educate is broader. Guide implies gentle leadership. Mentor suggests long-term support. Instead of learn, you might say study, practice, absorb, or grasp. When you say I'm learning English, that's correct. But if you say I'm absorbing the language, it sounds intuitive. If you say I'm grasping new concepts, it feels intellectual. The more you hear these words, the easier it becomes to use them naturally. Now let's focus on clarity. Instead of explain, you might say clarify, illustrate, describe, or outline. Clarify means to make something clear. Illustrate means to use examples. Describe means to give details. Outline means to present a structure. Imagine how different your speech becomes when you choose the right synonym for the right situation. Finally, let's explore the idea of time and speed. Again, instead of slow, you might say gradual, unhurried, measured, or steady. Instead of fast, you might say rapid, swift, brisk, or immediate. Each synonym shapes the pace in a different way. When you say change is slow, that's normal. But if you say change is gradual, it sounds natural. If you say change is measured, it sounds thoughtful. As we move into the final stretch of our 2-hour journey, I want to bring everything together in a way that feels meaningful, practical, and truly transformative for your English. We've explored how synonyms shape your clarity, how they elevate your tone, how they refine your precision, and how they help you sound more natural in every context. In this final chapter, let's shift into something deeper. How to build a lifelong habit of mastering vocabulary through active listening, conscious variation, and confident speaking. This is where your English stops being something you study and becomes something you embody. So imagine you're sitting back, relaxed, letting my voice guide you through one final powerful exercise that helps you turn every synonym you've learned today into part of your personal speaking style. I want you to think about one simple sentence. I don't understand. It's a normal sentence, something you might say every day, but it's also a perfect example of why synonyms matter. Instead of repeating the same phrase every time. A high-level English speaker can effortlessly shift between I don't understand, I'm not sure I follow that, doesn't quite make sense to me, I might need a bit of clarification, or even I'm not entirely convinced I grasp the point. Each version expresses the same core meaning, but each carries a different flavor, level of politeness, or emotional nuance. This is what makes your English sound thoughtful, natural, and layered. This is what makes someone listen to you and think, wow, they speak like a native. So let's take this idea and stretch it across your entire language practice. Imagine you're listening to a native speaker talk quickly, maybe in a podcast or a conversation, and you catch a phrase like, I was utterly exhausted. You might have previously only used very tired, but now utterly exhausted sits in your mental library. This is how the cycle works. You hear a synonym, you recognize its function, and then you store it. But storing is not enough. You need to use it. So imagine the next day. Someone asks how you feel after a long day, and instead of saying I'm very tired, you try I'm utterly exhausted. When it comes out naturally, that's when you know the word has moved from passive memory to active mastery. It's no longer something you learned. It's something you own. Now let's build a listening challenge. I want you to picture yourself walking down a street, maybe early in the morning. You hear English around you in little fragments. Someone says, the movie was incredible. Another person says, the movie was outstanding. Later, someone describes the same movie as unforgettable. As you hear these variations, your brain naturally groups them into a cluster, a family of meaning. The more you hear them, the more intuitive it becomes to choose among them depending on the mood or intensity you want to express. This instinct, this natural effortless switching is exactly what advanced learners develop through deep listening practice. And this podcast is designed to give you hours of exposure to exactly that kind of variation. Let's go through one more powerful training exercise. I'll give you a simple base sentence and then I'll expand it into a richer, more expressive version using synonyms. While listening, your job is to mentally notice each substitution and feel how the meaning shifts slightly. Start with, she is smart. Very simple. Now listen. She is intelligent. She is brilliant. She is perceptive. She is insightful. She is sharp. Each one paints a different picture. Brilliant suggests exceptional ability. Perceptive highlights awareness. Insightful emphasizes depth. Sharp suggests quick thinking. This is the beauty of synonyms. They don't just change the vocabulary. They change the color of the meaning. The more sensitive you become to these differences, the closer your English gets to true C1, C2 fluency. For our final major practice moment, let's challenge your speaking. I'll read several pairs of sentences aloud. Each pair uses a synonym, and your job is to repeat whichever version feels more natural to you. By choosing, you train your instinct. Here we go. I'm worried about the result. I'm concerned about the outcome. He spoke very quietly. He spoke in a subdued tone. The view was beautiful. The view was breathtaking. She solved the problem quickly. She resolved the issue swiftly. After each pair, think about why you chose the version you did. Was it shorter, softer, stronger, more elegant? Your preference reveals your personal speaking style. And personal style is what separates learners from confident communicators. This exercise helps you internalize rhythm, tone, and word choice all at once. Now, picture the kind of English speaker you want to be. Not just someone who knows a lot of words, but someone who sounds calm, articulate, expressive, and authentic. To become that kind of speaker, synonyms must become your friends. Let them help you soften your tone when needed, intensify your message when it matters, or create variety so your speech never sounds repetitive or mechanical. Every synonym you learn gives you one more way to be understood, one more way to connect. Before we close, I want to leave you with a practical routine. Every day, choose one simple sentence you use often. Rewrite it using 3 different synonym substitutions. Then repeat all 4 sentences aloud. For example, I'm happy, I'm delighted, I'm pleased, I'm glad, I'm overjoyed. Say them slowly, then say them naturally. Then say them as if you're speaking to a friend. This tiny daily exercise trains your ear, your memory, and your mouth all at once. And within months, your fluency will shift dramatically. As we reach the end of this long and immersive podcast, I want you to recognize how far you've already come. You've spent hours training your listening, absorbing natural variation, and expanding your vocabulary in a way that is active, intentional, and deeply effective. If you've stayed until this moment, it means you're serious about your English. And if you're serious, growth is guaranteed. Thank you so much for joining today's lesson here at JBC English Learning Academy. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me what you want to learn next. Your support helps the channel grow and helps me create more lessons for you. Take care, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next class.